There are secrets in every palace. But some secrets don't hide behind doors. They live in hearts. This is the story of Thomas, the royal chef. A man who never wore a crown. Yet served those who did, with love, loyalty, and silence. The palace was waking up slowly that morning. Golden sunlight filtered through tall windows, falling upon the marble floors like liquid fire. Servants whispered, footsteps echoed, but the kitchen, the heart of the palace, was strangely quiet. Emma, a young assistant with brown hair tied neatly under her scarf, walked in. She had spent years under the guidance of the royal chef, learning not just recipes but grace, patience, and discipline. But that morning, she felt something different. The air carried an emptiness she had never known. Thomas was not there. The kitchen looked perfect, every pot polished, every knife shining, herbs neatly hanging near the window. On the main table sat a folded note beside a cold cup of tea. Emma's eyes trembled as she picked it up. The handwriting, strong yet tired, was unmistakably his. A tear rolled down her cheek. The paper shook in her hands. The sound of the ticking clock filled the silent kitchen like a heartbeat. She sat there for a long moment, listening, hoping he might walk in again, smile softly, and say, "You overcooked the bread again, Emma." But no sound came. The scene fades. Now, in another part of the palace, the king sat at the long royal table. He was a man of power and pride, known for his stern tone, his flawless attire, and his impossible expectations. But even kings have memories, and some of them ache quietly. A messenger entered, bowed deeply, and handed him a letter sealed with a simple red wax stamp. No royal crest, just the mark of a humble cook. The king opened it. As his eyes moved across the page, his hand stopped trembling. For the first time in years, his voice broke, soft, almost whispering. The king closed his eyes. His face, once proud and unmoved, softened. A single tear fell upon the page. He remembered years ago, the first day Thomas served him. A simple bowl of soup. The king had mocked it. But Thomas had smiled and said, "Your Majesty, sometimes the simplest meal carries the deepest warmth." That memory now felt heavier than gold. The king stood and walked toward the palace window. Outside, the royal garden glowed under the late afternoon sun. He saw children playing, guards marching, birds flying freely above. And he wondered why his palace felt so cold. Because warmth, he realized, was gone with the man who cooked with love. The sun dipped behind the towers. The king walked down the marble stairs, alone, no guards, no courtiers. He reached the garden fountain, the same spot where Thomas often sat at night, peeling apples and humming quietly to himself. There beside the fountain lay a simple white chef's hat, folded neatly, waiting. The king froze. He picked it up with shaking hands. The hat still carried the faint scent of herbs and smoke. He looked at his reflection in the fountain, his crown glinting under the twilight sky, and for the first time he felt smaller than that crown. The fountain's rippling water answered with silence. The moon rose slowly, turning the palace silver. The king placed the hat beside the fountain and bowed his head, his voice trembling. The wind blew softly, carrying the faint scent of rosemary, Thomas's favorite herb. Days turned into weeks. The kitchen reopened, but it was not the same. The sound of laughter was gone. The fragrance of love had faded. Emma tried to continue her duties. She cooked the same dishes Thomas once made, using the same recipes. But every night before leaving, she placed a silver spoon beside the stove, his spoon, as if waiting for him to return. Sometimes when the palace grew quiet, she swore she could still hear him, the gentle sound of a ladle tapping a pot. And that familiar whisper. One night while everyone slept, Emma entered the kitchen again. Candles flickered softly. She whispered into the darkness, "Chef, I hope you found peace." For a moment the flames danced higher. And in that golden shimmer, she thought she saw his silhouette. Smiling calm, fading into the light. Years passed. The king grew older. His crown seemed heavier with every sunrise. But in his heart, one memory stayed, the warmth of a simple meal made by a man who never sought power, only love. One morning he walked to the royal garden. The fountain still flowed. And beside it now stood a bronze statue. Thomas, the royal chef, holding his spoon like a sword. Beneath it, a plaque gleamed in the sunlight. The king stood there quietly. No guards, no music, no crowd. He placed a small bouquet of white lilies at the statue's base and whispered. He turned, and for a brief moment, he thought he heard Thomas's voice again, laughing softly in the wind. The king smiled, and for the first time in years, the palace didn't feel lonely. The camera slowly pulls away. From the king. From the statue. From the golden palace glowing under morning light. Birds soar over the garden. The fountain sparkles. The kitchen window catches a ray of sun. And the narrator's voice returns, deep and emotional.